Hi, how are you all? I'm Brenda. I'm currently 29 and will be 30 in 2 months. I have recently gotten out of a horrible experience related to my husband and his mother. I swear, I used to think that marriage is not that difficult to handle. But boy, was I wrong. Yes, I'm a strong girl since I managed. When I was unmarried, I had my life pretty well and sorted. I had a job as an assistant vet. My life was surrounded by pets, and to be honest, I loved being around them. I loved adventure. I had an old bike belonging to my father. I often took it out for a spin. If my dad didn't have much sentiment towards it, I would have taken it for myself. My dad raised me single-handedly and never made me feel like I didn't have a mom. He is an excellent father, and I'm really lucky to have him. I moved to Chicago, where I got a job as an assistant caregiver to a veterinary clinic. It started very smoothly, and I was picking on the process fast. I met John very unexpectedly. I was very late once and had to take a cab. The cab driver was handsomely single. He is the epitome of a charming boy-next-door trope. He had some bomb-ass features, especially his hair. It looked so soft and silky. He was my type. He was also too smooth with his words. "So, ma'am, where to?" His smile was radiant, and he gave me a cheeky smirk now and then. Sometimes he would lock eyes with me through his mirror. I would blush, but I didn't give any unnecessary signs. "What's your name, if you don't mind telling me?" "Why do you want to know that? Want to take me out or something?" "I mean, I don't mind if you don't." Winks. "Please, you are not my type." "Ouch, that hurt. Well, how about being friends?" "Depends on how you are treating a lady." "I'm just messing around." "Okay then, deal. Do you like Italian? I have a great restaurant in my area. You would love it, I guarantee." "Are you serious about taking me out?" "Well, I love Italian. Sounds great." That day, I was highly energetic at work. My colleagues were very amazed by my grand gestures. There is usually this one dog that annoyed me a lot, but I managed to keep my calm even in that situation. Pauline, my go-to buddy, came skipping towards me. She then gripped my shoulders tightly and looked at me with a cheeky grin. "Girl, what's going on? Am I missing anything? Are you hiding something from me?" "Jesus, get a grip. You scared the shit out of me. Everything's good. I'm just really happy." "Yeah, sure. Is that the reason why you've been spacing out during the case discussion today? What's the source?" Well, I met a really cute cab driver today. His name is John. He offered to treat me to an Italian restaurant today." "Say what now? A cab driver? Bruh." Now, don't judge." "I mean, is he that cute?" "Yes, he is. If I get a snap of him, I'll send it to you. But you better not hit on him. He's mine." "Oh, please, I have eyes on someone else. He's pretty cute too." Winks. That evening, I was picked by John. He was smelling nice and looked so good. I was nervous and fidgety. I mean, it is my first time trying to find the man. He took me to a very beautiful place by a small lake. It was a cozy place and maybe not that posh, but the food was amazing. John's deep brown eyes, framed by thick, expressive eyebrows, are his most captivating feature. They are warm and inviting, radiating kindness and sincerity. When he smiles, his eyes light up, revealing a genuine and infectious joy that draws people towards him. Gosh, it was hard to fall for that smile. We stuffed ourselves with pasta and wine and ice cream. A wonderful evening. He gave me another offer. He said he would make me meet his mother since she would like me a lot. The way things were moving too fast should have been a dead giveaway that this all was a red flag. "So, you live with your dad?" "Not. Dad stays with my uncle in Michigan." He got this house long back for themselves, but then Mom left and he and I started to live. But you know, my dad's not a fan of staying in one place for long. He loves traveling. He owns a beautiful bike. It's old and all, but it's still sturdy to go on. He visits me sometimes, like currently he's here right now. He would leave in a week. Wow, your dad sounds like a rock star, like a total biker badass. Would he even like me? That again depends on how you'd approach him. After all, he is the type of father who protects their daughter from a freaking fly, so. And he is wary of men around me. The last time I brought a guy to my place, he scared him off just from the door. That was some scene, I swear. The guy practically pissed his pants off. Well then, how about we bet on it again? I mean, I won this time. You like the place and the food and me? So let's see if your dad likes me too. I put a bet on $20. I am winning the 20. You will not be able to win, I tell you. He is too difficult to impress. Oh, Brenda, you just don't know me yet. I am smooth Mr. Cool. I will impress your dad so hard, he would be bound to get us married. Just watch me. Okay, Mr. Confident. We quaked with laughter. I mean, I thought he was joking, but man, he was dead serious. When I returned home late, my dad was sitting right there looking very concerned. Yes, young lady, where were you? I mean, it is midnight. Oh, Dad, well, I was working overtime. There were a lot of clients and emergencies, so I had to stay back. I wasn't born yesterday, Brenda. Who is the man? Dad? There was no man. Please, you are overthinking. I was just with Pauline. I called Pauline. She said you were outside with a friend. Who was it? Okay, fine. He was just a friend, an old friend. He wanted to go out with me to chill, so I said yes, that's all. And how come I've never heard of this friend before? And why didn't you bother telling or at least calling me once? You know I'm worried about you, Bren. Sorry, Dad, I am. I would keep this in mind. He's a cab driver and he is a very sweet person, so please, you can relax. Why a cab driver? Ugh. All right, fine. Just next time, please inform your father. The next day at work, I jumped at Pauline. She was very startled at first, but then realized why I did that. Girl, why the hell did you tell my dad about John? Bruh, chill. I just said you were out with a friend, and why wouldn't I? What if that twat murdered you and dumped you somewhere? Oh, come on. He was so adorable and such a gentleman. I'll be meeting his mother soon, and mother? Hell no. You're going too fast. The first date doesn't determine anything. He could be a closet perv for all you know. You want to freaking bet on it? You will lose, since you're such an amazing judge of character. Don't even try. We exchanged numbers. He used to call me more than text. He'd say that he loved hearing my voice. He even gave me a proposal to visit his house, telling me that his mother was so eager to meet me. I was kind of scared because I was thinking about Pauline's words, and I felt that maybe I was going too fast. I wanted to take it slow and wanted to see how things worked with him first. I told him to keep seeing each other for the time being before his mom got involved. John was persistent, but gradually understood. We just got to know each other. And as much as I love hanging out with you, I'm still new to this and I want to get to know you properly first. I mean, you are adorable and I like you, but I want to like you more, you see? Okay, I get it. And I'm sorry. I don't know why, but I've never been this excited in my life. It's always fun to have you around. You know what? Me too. And I'm glad to have met you. I'm an outgoing girl, but not many guys catch my eye that often, so all of this is kind of new to me too. Aha! So you're saying that I managed to catch your attention? Are you admitting the fact that I'm different from the other guys you've met? Yes, of course. Jesus, saying it out loud makes it much more embarrassing than keeping it in my head. You are the only guy, I think, with whom I can be like myself. And I too feel the same, Brenda. We started officially dating after 2 months of hanging out. He invited me to a baseball match. His friend was playing as a debutante in the team, and he requested both of us to pay a visit. John was sitting very close to me. He was making it so obvious that he was into me. When I locked eyes with him, he leaned in and planted a soft kiss. That was it. The spark to a forest fire. I was swooning at his charm. He had many friends. He would introduce me to them, and we would drink together and come home late. John would always escort me safely to my place. My dad was always keeping an eye on him every time he dropped me off. The last time he did, my dad stopped and told him to pay a visit for some dinner. Just the three of us. Well, John already made his way to my dad's heart. It is a rare occurrence that my dad invites anyone over to his place. I bet he's eager to win his $20, LOL. My dad and I arranged a nice steak party for John. We had fish, fries, a little bit of rice, and Japanese curry. To wash it all down, we had Chicago's finest red wine. It was a full feast, like a lot for just 3 people. I wore my prettiest dress. It was his favorite color, violet. When he arrived, he was wearing a freaking tuxedo. He was looking so handsome, though. The 3 of us made proper acquaintances before we sat down to have our dinner. So, John, how long have you been in Chicago? 3 years, sir. I know the city like the back of my hand. Oh, really now? Impressive. And you are a cab driver? Yes, sir. Babe, talk about the time when you hitchhiked a creepy man. The one which was late at night. My dad loves these kinds of stories. Babe? No, Brenda, not yet. Not now. Dad, we're dating, I told you. Yes, I know, but I believe in family decorum. This is not yet welcome in my house. Brenda, your father's right. His house, his rules. You can always call me babe and darling, but not here, okay? That is a good man right there. Now, John, tell me about the story of the creepy man Brenda was talking about. After dinner, when John was about to leave. Well, babe, I guess I owe you $20, right? Oh, nah, I don't need it. I'm just glad I could prove that I'm a very suave gentleman. Look at you, so full of yourself. Bet you feel more cocky than ever. I love you, you know? I love you too. It has been a few months since John requested me to finally meet his mother. Now, I thought this was the proper time to do so. I remember how I stood nervously outside the door preparing myself to meet John's mother for the first time. A wave of anticipation washed over me. John had spoken so highly of his mother, Jackie, and I wanted nothing more than to make a good impression in front of her. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door, my heart pounding with every passing second. The door swung open, revealing a woman with a warm smile and kind eyes. She welcomed me inside with open arms, and I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of relief. It seemed like everything was going well, and I hoped this meeting would be the beginning of a beautiful relationship between us. Throughout the evening, Jackie showed genuine interest in getting to know me. She asked about my family, my hobbies, and my aspirations. I eagerly shared my stories, hoping to connect with her on a deeper level. As the night progressed, I started to feel more comfortable in her presence, cherishing the chance to bond with John's mother. But amidst the pleasant conversation and laughter, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Jackie's smile, though warm, seemed forced at times, and her gaze occasionally flickered with an unidentifiable emotion. I couldn't help but wonder what lay behind those eyes. As dinner came to an end, Jackie excused herself from the table, leaving John and me alone for a moment. I turned to John, my eyes filled with curiosity and concern. "Do you think your mother likes me?" There's something off about everything, and I can't quite put my finger on it. He excused himself too. After 20 minutes of sitting in absolute silence, they both came in with a plate of desserts. You know, Brenda, it has been a long time since I met someone as wonderful as you. My son is extremely lucky to have found you. He always had an eye for the good stuff. I mean, I won't deny it. He does find his way into people's hearts. He gets me too. You have raised your son well. So, have you guys thought of marriage yet? Did my boy pop the question? I choked so hard on my cupcake. It took me a while to get it out of my windpipe. John glared at his mother. I don't know whether that was out of anger or embarrassment. What? What? Did I say something wrong? I thought he already did it. Baby, were you going to propose to me? Thanks, Mom. It was true that John wanted to propose, and when we went to our next date, he popped the question. I said yes, because I was charmed by this man. The wedding was simple and calm. The reception took place in a small hotel because we didn't want John to waste too much money on these things. I was glad enough to get him as my husband. Jackie was present throughout, but she was silent. That stone-cold expression returned on her face. Her mind was probably bubbling with thoughts that I would never know. She seemed very half-hearted. I mean, I would have empathized with her if she was feeling sad that her son has grown up and was getting married. But I couldn't even empathize with her after the stunt she pulled off. John moved in with me to my house. My dad already headed back to my uncle's. He said he would visit soon. John and I more or less settled down well. We made some changes together. John turned our bedroom into his dream room. I don't mind much because I'm not picky about decor. I got to arrange the living room and a bit of the kitchen. Pauline visited us shortly after getting married. She was extremely ill, so she couldn't come before. It was nice to have her and John get to know each other. Everything felt perfect until things started missing from my house. What do you mean, missing? First it started with my accessories, then my favorite jacket. That was a costly one too. Small things are disappearing now and then. Okay, that's weird. Did you talk to John about this? I did. He kept saying, I probably misplaced it. I mean, help me look for it, but he wasn't too keen. Should I come over and help you out? I am your good luck charm after all. It's all right. I'll deal with it just fine. I probably did misplace it. After all, I cleaned the whole freaking closet. This still didn't give me much assurance as things kept disappearing into thin air. I would often think about it at my workplace. This went on for a year, especially when John and I went on our honeymoon. I returned to a trashed house, like someone entered and they made a huge mess. There were beer bottles, unwashed dishes, and smelly clothes. I thought it was my dad since he is the only one with spare keys, but when I called him, he said that he was still at my uncle's. I didn't fill in any details because I didn't want him to get worried. I thought maybe John and I could somehow solve this issue. One day, I finished work early. At the door, when I was taking out my keys, I was somewhat feeling uneasy, like a feeling of danger washed over me. I put the keys in, but the door was not fully locked. I went inside, tiptoed, not making a single sound. It was another house intrusion. I could hear sounds from the bedroom. I took hold of an umbrella that was kept at the corner and slowly made my way to the sound. I peeked through the corner, and to my astonishment, it was Jackie. She was trashing my entire closet, even wearing my favorite jacket. The moment a yelp of protest came out of my mouth, she turned towards me. There you are, the woman who bewitched my son. Do you think you can get away with this? What on earth? How the hell did you get in here? She suddenly lunged at me while yelling. This is my son's house, not yours, you filthy vermin. These are all mine, my things. You don't even deserve this life. The first time I saw those eyes, I saw nothing but filth. She grabbed my hair tightly. I was so scared and hurt. My hands automatically lifted themselves. The umbrella came down on her head. It was not a massive blow, thank goodness, but enough to knock her out. I called the cops and John. Jackie confessed to her misguided intentions, tearfully admitting that her actions stemmed from a deep-seated fear of losing her son. She apologized profusely, recognizing the pain she had caused in our relationship and the violation of our privacy. Her love for John had driven her to desperate measures, but she now understood the gravity of her actions. She was okay and handcuffed. I showed her and the cops my property papers as proof that I was not the crazy one there. The cops found Jackie guilty of intrusion and theft. They also gave me a warning to use weapons carefully on people. John sighed, his face filled with a mix of regret and sadness. Brenda, it's complicated. Jackie has always been overprotective and she couldn't let go of me when we got married. She had this misguided belief that she needed to protect me at all costs, even if it meant crossing boundaries. And you? Are you a child, John? Don't you have any sense of right and wrong? I'm sorry, Brenda. I didn't think this would go that far. The fact that your mother was so sweet and sugar is sickening. Her real intentions were hidden by that pretty smile of hers. I can't take this anymore. While forgiveness wasn't immediate, I recognized that Jackie's remorse and John's stupidity were genuine. We understood that her love for her son had clouded her judgment, and we hoped that with time and healing, we could rebuild the trust that had been shattered. In the following months, we took steps to ensure our home's security and protect our privacy. We changed the locks, implemented a security system, and established clear boundaries with Jackie. I was very much troubled and heartbroken by John's betrayal. I needed some space. I told him that we need to split for a while and that I need to think again with a clear head. John was understanding enough to lend me that. I gave him no access to my place, at least for the time being. My dad came and temporarily moved in till things were less tense. Jackie was in jail for a while. She would be released soon. She too was not allowed to access my life. Well, currently, I'm still healing. Things will get better eventually. John has to prove more than he should if he wants to get back in my life. My name's Amanda. I'm 28 years old. My family owns a confectionery business in Seattle, and I've been helping them out ever since I was in my early teens. My parents left the business to me and my sister to run since they were getting old and wanted to retire. It was a fun business to work in, plus my family accommodated me in a nice place to live right above the shop. I was growing up and I wanted to be independent. Every morning at 8 a.m., our shop opens and we welcome customers with a warm aroma of freshly brewed coffee and soft, creamy delectables. Chloe, my sister, was the type of person who would not help in any contribution, but be present whenever an event took place, like she would show up as if she owned the thing or something. Our parents were really tired of her not being serious and fooling around with the expenses. Even if they wanted a break, they had to come twice a week to see if everything was done smoothly. She was such a spoilsport. I disliked her. It had always been a tumultuous journey being Chloe's younger sister. I vividly remember those early years filled with constant bickering and petty arguments. Chloe had a way of making me feel like I was living in her shadow, always overshadowed by her accomplishments and dreams. As we grew older, the gap between us seemed to widen and our differences only multiplied. Despite our constant clashes, I yearned for a strong bond with my sister. I desperately wanted her to see me as more than just her little sister, someone she could confide in and trust. However, every time I thought we were making progress, something would come along to remind me of the deep-rooted strain between us. Chloe, please don't mess with my toys. Mom said I need to keep them safe. Oh, come on, Amanda. They're just boring old toys. Let's have some fun. They're not boring, and I don't want them ruined. You always break things. I do not. Ugh, you're just no fun. Chloe and I were fighting over the toy, and we both stopped pulling it in the opposite direction. The force was too much to bear, so it ended up ripping apart from the middle. See what you did? Now Mom will be so mad. Oops, my bad. But who cares? Gee, sis, you're such a goody two-shoes. Why would you always have to be so mean all the time, Chloe? I'm not mean. I'm just having fun. You should try it sometimes. There's a difference between having fun and being destructive. Chloe, I wish you'd understand that. You're always so perfect, little Miss Perfect. It's annoying. I'm not. I just don't want to get into trouble all the time. Oh, you're such a scared cat. You should think about others too, not just yourself. What if you broke something that I loved? Whatever. I'll find someone else to play with. Chloe storms off, leaving me feeling hurt and upset. This was always the case between me and her. She just couldn't stand me. It became worse as we grew up. It started with taking my things to bully me in school. She often tossed my bag or tiffin box. Her attitude only grew worse. My constant attempt of establishing something decent kept failing. One such incident left an indelible mark on my heart, and was when she stole away my fiance from me. Our relationship was blossoming into something beautiful, but as soon as Chloe heard about Jacob, her demeanor changed. I could sense her jealousy, as she couldn't bear the thought of me finding happiness in someone else's arms. It wasn't long before Chloe started putting seeds of doubt in Jacob's mind about our relationship. She would whisper poison into his ear, painting me as someone unworthy of his love and affection. The more she tried to create rifts between us, the more I felt torn between my love for Jacob and my desire to salvage any semblance of sisterly connection with Chloe. Why would you ever do something like that? What have I ever done to you to deserve this? You always did this. Why? Just why? Oh, little sis, about to cry again. Jacob was dating a sore loser until now. I'll always be the showstopper in your life, Amanda. You can't ever have the good things in life. Besides, have you seen yourself in the mirror? That was my relationship. You had no right to take it away from me. I have given you all the things you desired, all my toys, my friends, my room, my freaking car. You took them all, and you are still not content. You want my fiance too? Oh, will you stop yapping? Your voice is hella annoying, man. Look, Missy, I did you a favor. That guy was never meant to be with you anyway. I mean, if he cheats on you that fast, might as well call it quits. I remember how it all started through a freaking dating app. I had my 26th birthday, and my friends were encouraging me to start an account and search for potential mates. At first, I was laughing about it, telling them that dating apps are absolute trash and only creeps would want to be your soulmates. But every time I finished my shift at work and come home feeling a bit lonely and tired, I couldn't help but think about the possibility that maybe it might be a great idea to check out at least once. One evening, as I sat in my cozy apartment, I decided to give the world of dating apps a try, hoping to find someone to explore this city with. Little did I know that my life was about to change from the most beautiful to the worst way ever. At first, I was getting used to the interface, but then slowly and surely, I was all up and going. I scrolled through the apps, swiping left and right, but none of the profiles really caught my attention until I stumbled upon Jacob's. His profile picture showed a warm smile that instantly melted my heart, and his bio was filled with humor and kindness. Without hesitation, I swiped right, hoping he'd do the same. A few days passed, and just when I was beginning to lose hope, I received a notification that made my heart skip a beat. It was a match. Jacob had swiped right, too. Hey there, Amanda. How's it going? Kinda new to this app, so please bear with me. Oh, really? Me too. I just downloaded a few days back. It's so strange how people get matched here. I'm just glad it's you. I really liked your bio and was keen to get to know you. To be honest, I had half expectations that we would match. Oh, come on. Don't underestimate yourself so much. Your profile was very striking too, especially where you added only cat people. I unfortunately have a dog. I hope it won't come in the way. We engaged in a back and forth conversation, sharing bits and pieces of our lives, hobbies, and interests. Wow, your family runs a bakery. That is so freaking cool. I bet the menu is tasty as hell. You're always welcome to try. As the conversation progresses, we discovered shared interests and a sense of humor. I don't know why when people find out I'm an engineer, they would ask me, how many bridges have I built? Like it has happened so many times, it does not feel like a joke anymore. Really? I didn't know that was a thing. Engineering is such a respectful job. You must be really busy. True. It's a pretty decent job with pretty decent pay, but not as exciting as yours, though. I would love to wake up every day to freshly baked pastries. Oh my God. As we continued to chat, Jacob suggested that we meet in person. I felt nervous but excited at the same time. He told me he would love to visit our bakery. He also added if I could manage to save him some glazed donuts since he loves them a lot. I remember him walking into our shop, searching for my face at the counter, and when our eyes finally met, it felt like time had stopped. We greeted each other with a warm side hug, and all my nerves vanished in an instant. I was glad he wasn't catfishing. He looked exactly like his picture, rather much attractive up front. My parents were kind of startled by this gesture. They didn't expect that I would be the one making the move. They welcomed Jacob to spend some time with them after work. Either it was them being overprotective or them being really caring. They decided to stay the whole time when Jacob was present. It was more like a group date, to be honest. The next time we met, we explored the city together, trying out new restaurants, attending concerts, and simply enjoying each other's company. With every passing day, our connection grew stronger, and it became evident that we had found something truly special. Chloe noticed, but she was too full of herself to appreciate anything. Whenever she used to see me with Jacob, she would scream, "Bad choice," or "Ew, gross, take it someplace else." She always had a habit of publicly demeaning me and making fun of me. One day, I got all juju on her by confronting her antics. "Chloe, can you not shut the hell up? Do you always have to make such a scene?" "What? I was just saying the truth. You guys were drooling at each other like some 90s kids drooling at their first candy. If you want to get finicky, love hotels are always available. The bakery isn't your honeymoon." "And since when did you care about the bakery, huh? Who was the one spending all the hard-earned expenses on Jimmy Choos and Chanel? You know damn well that shit's pricey, and still, you are so shameless." "You are not my mother, little brat. I can do whatever I want. It's not just your shop. I have equal rights to this property." "Piss off, sociopath. Jesus, Mom should have left you somewhere." Our parents were so tired of us fighting constantly. They tried to separate us from a very early age, but somehow we always managed to piss each other off. There were times she and I would have fistfights. I know how toxic this sounds, but her behavior was causing a lot of hindrance in our mental health. I started to hate her, but I also felt bad that a chance of potential sisterhood was never happening. To keep my mind off things, I kept my focus on my relationship with Jacob. He owned a really good house. He was an established engineer. He had successful projects and his portfolio was damn clean. When he invited me to his place, I was really scared. I didn't know how his parents would react to me. I mean, their son is extremely talented, and I'm just plain old me running my family business with no talent of my own whatsoever. But it didn't go as bad as I thought it to be. His parents arranged a feast, which I felt was really unnecessary because I eat so little. I could barely stuff my face with food. They were having a conversation while I was trying to keep up with them. More or less, it was a great day. Things started to take a weird turn when Chloe started to seduce Jacob. At first, it started with subtly, light touches on his shoulders or stroking his back gently whenever she got the chance. This happened for a year. Jacob seemed not to mind or feel bothered by this at all, which should have been a red flag. But I thought he was just being oblivious. I mean, he freaking proposed to me. I felt my heart soar as he got down on one knee and asked me to be his partner for life. Through tears of joy, I said yes, feeling an overwhelming rush of happiness and gratitude. I so knew I didn't do the right thing. Don't you think you guys are rushing into the thing a bit? Like, he's not running anywhere. She was sitting at the back of the office of the shop eating a freshly baked macaroon. You were not supposed to eat that, Chloe. That was a fresh batch. Oh, no one will notice. We make plenty of batches every day. Oh, really? Do you even know how difficult it is to make macarons? Have you ever tried baking one? Oh, so you want to lecture me now? Do you really think people take you seriously? Like, if you do, you are mad, delusional. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just here to remind you that we can't have fresh batches. That is not professional. If you really feel like you have the caliber to run this shop, then I think it's time you act like one. Chloe aggressively stood up. The table rumbled as she came up towards me and stood face to face with me. Stop talking like you are my father, you runt. Know your place. You are nothing but a sad little puppy who's always looked down upon. First from our parents, and now Jacob. I froze. I didn't know what else to say. I just silently went away from the scene. I cried a lot in the bathroom that day. It didn't stop there. Things were going in a certain way, but the arrogance of Chloe increased, and now she became even more desperate. She wanted to tag along everywhere we went. She would call Jacob her best brother-in-law, but then proceed to be extremely handsy with him. I was feeling uncomfortable. I tried my best to have a conversation with Jacob, but she would always interrupt. I wouldn't lie, but Chloe was way more attractive than I was. She would wear dresses and doll herself up while I preferred light makeup and baggy clothes. Things started to get weirder when Jacob was invited to a work party. It was celebrated on a personal yacht. I was getting hella insecure. If I knew how posh his lifestyle was, I would have thought about not going with him. I was a very simple girl, and a gala life was not mine, but definitely a thing for Chloe. Weirdly, she was invited. Like I was the freaking fiance, but he evidently enjoyed Chloe's company more. He introduced me and Chloe to his friends. I was getting really conscious, but Chloe was super confident. After a small interaction, I went to the bar counter and started to drink impulsively. A few shots later, when I was not able to stand anymore, I tripped 2 steps backwards and collided with someone. I turned around to see a tall man wearing a black suit and a white tie. He was talking to another woman with a drink in his hand. Whoa, lady, are you okay? I'm really sorry. I didn't see you there. I'm just a bit buzzed. I'll be okay. Are you sure? We can provide some lime juice if you want. It will help you with that buzzing head of yours. That would be really nice, actually. I think I overdid it. He took me to one of the private compartments and made me sit. After 5 minutes, a glass of fresh lime juice arrived and was given to me. His name was Michael. He ordered another whiskey for himself. While we waited, he struck up a conversation with me, and to my surprise, I found Michael to be genuinely kind and easy to talk to. We laughed and shared stories and discovered common interests. As the night progressed, we continued to enjoy each other's company, and he made sure I felt included and cared for. It was as if we had known each other for ages, and the connection we had was unexpected but undeniable. As the party came to a close, Jacob called me on the phone asking where I was, so I quickly excused myself from Michael and left. He requested me to stay in touch with him, so I gave him my number. He smiled. He really liked my company and wanted to continue the conversation further. "Where the hell were you? I was looking for you everywhere." "At the restroom. Sorry, I was really drunk and I wanted to throw up." "Why can't you take some responsibility? You know this is my office party. If people found out who you are to me, then it would have been so embarrassing." Thanks to Chloe, she maintained her composure pretty well throughout. My colleagues absolutely loved her. I was silent the whole time in the car. I know I messed up. I was so busy talking to Michael. Wait, should I tell him about Michael? But what if he gets angry? I won't be able to deal with it. Throughout the ride, I could see Chloe's satisfactory smirk. She was always happy whenever I was miserable. I never thought that my life could take such a painful turn. It was a sunny afternoon, and I decided to surprise Jacob with a visit to his place and apologize for all the things I had done at his party. As I approached his front door, my heart was filled with love and excitement, eager to see the man I thought was my husband. But as I stepped closer, I heard hushed voices coming from inside. At first, I dismissed it as maybe Jacob talking to a friend or his parents. But something inside me couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Ignoring the nagging doubt, I opened the door, hoping for a warm welcome. To my horror, the sight that greeted me was like a punch to the gut. There, in the living room, I saw Jacob and Chloe, my own sister, locked in a passionate embrace. It felt like the world stood still for a moment as I processed the heartbreaking scene before me. The shock turned into disbelief and then into an overwhelming surge of pain and betrayal. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. I wanted to scream, to confront them, but my voice failed me and I felt paralyzed. Finally, finding my voice, I managed to choke out their names and they quickly pulled away from each other. Chloe looked angry, and Jacob attempted to explain, but the words fell on deaf ears. The betrayal was too much to bear, and I said what I had to and fled from the apartment, tears streaming down my face. Hey, Amanda, where are you? What happened?" I called Michael, unable to process the entire situation. "Can I please come over? Please, I can't. I feel like I'm going to faint." "Oh shit, wait. Tell me where you are. I'm coming to pick you up." I had secretly kept contact with him because I felt really nice talking to him. He became my very good friend, even if it was a momentary experience. I knew that he would be the one who would be helping me. After that scenario, I never faced them ever again. I told my dad to take over the shop while I took a break. My relationship with Michael became really strong and he took great care of me. Evidently, Chloe didn't come back to the shop and she moved in with Jacob. They were really happy with me gone from their lives. Michael and I tried to rebuild our friendship. We would go out and spend time together. "Wait, you are the boss. What? Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because people get wary, so I didn't want to scare you away." "Oh my God, Jacob would. Damn. What's going on in that head of yours?" "Actually, I just am waiting for the right time. I feel like we'll be meeting them soon." I had a detailed discussion with my parents about Chloe. They were very disappointed and disgusted with her behavior. They never thought she would reach that extent, so it was decided I would be in charge of the shop. Meanwhile, me and Michael started dating. It has been 8 months. His birthday was coming, so I wanted to buy him something. We thought of going to a supermarket to get him a nice pair of jeans and a shirt. He was shy at first, but agreed later on. We were roaming the streets and looking for a good shop when suddenly I saw 2 very familiar faces in the distance. It was Chloe and Jacob. They seemed to be arguing about something. As we approached, Chloe looked at us mockingly. "Oh, isn't it the dear little sister? Oh, and I see you found yourself a protege. Perfect for you." Chloe? So, who is this broke-ass boyfriend? Another fish from your dating app? Man, you do have bad choices. Jeez. So, what story did you cook up to him to get his attention? Chloe, please, shh. What? Hello, Jacob. Good seeing you here. Hey, boss, wait, boss? Yes, and this broke-ass man is my soon-to-be husband. We are engaged. Well, I hope you guys are really happy together. Thanks a lot, Jacob. We left them in awe and shock. It was so satisfactory. My parents demanded Chloe never come back to the shop if she didn't fix her attitude. Jacob, on the other hand, was always kept on edge. Michael gave him subtle threats of firing him just to play with his feeble emotion. It was good riddance. I could finally be serious about the shop. Michael was a huge support, and I was so happy to ever have met him. Hello, my name's Chloe, and I'm a 30-year-old cishet woman. I wish I could go back in time and tell 13-year-old Chloe, and basically any little girl, that dreaming of a Prince Charming and an overall picture-perfect marriage with great in-laws is a waste of time. Because let me tell you, it really hit me like a truck. My mother-in-law, Emma, and my husband, Noah, made sure to give me that rude awakening. It all began when Noah and I said our I do's. I had this vision of our families blending smoothly like something straight out of a fairy tale. Oh boy, was I in for a surprise. Little did I know that Emma and Noah would team up to become the dynamic duo of toxicity, always testing my patience and sanity. Right from the start, it was clear as day that Emma, my nightmare of a mother-in-law, was going to be a constant pain in the neck. Me, I avoid drama like it's the plague, so I tried my best to keep things peaceful and make it work. But let me tell you, Emma had a special talent for pushing all my buttons. Man, let me tell you, dealing with her was like walking on eggshells all the time. I never knew when she'd unleash her disapproval on me. I tried everything to win her over, going out of my way to get her thoughtful gifts, hoping it'd bring us closer. But instead of softening her heart, it seemed to make her even more hostile. I still remember her snide remarks tearing down my efforts and making it clear she wanted nothing to do with me, not even if I had the cure for cancer. Her rejection hit me like a ton of bricks each time. It wasn't just the mean words she said, it was the fact that Noah, my own husband, didn't do much to stand up for me. He was stuck in this loop of trying to please his mother, leaving me to fend for myself. It was like a 1-2 punch, dealing with Emma's toxic behavior and Noah's indifference, lack of intervention. I felt so alone in my own marriage, like my voice didn't matter at all in our relationship. I carried the weight of Emma's disapproval on my shoulders every step of the way. It was like a nagging voice in my head just piling onto my anxiety. I ended up always questioning my worth, and it made me feel sick. The toll it took on my mental and emotional well-being was undeniable. All I wanted was a loving and peaceful family dynamic where we could all accept and understand each other, but it felt like an impossible dream in reality. Little did I know life was about to take a wild turn I never saw coming. What happened next was going to challenge me, empower me, and take me on a journey of self-discovery and happiness. But hold on tight, because this ride's going to be a roller coaster full of surprises. Feeling the weight of Emma's disapproval on my shoulders, I knew I had to deal with this elephant in the room. So I gathered up my courage and decided to host a brunch at my place. I wanted to create a safe space to tackle all the underlying issues that had been causing trouble for way too long. When Emma showed up, She gave my home this critical once-over, finding faults in every little thing. "Oh, I see you've redecorated again. It looks like dog crap. Aren't you embarrassed? I know I would be." I gotta tell you, I tried my best to keep calm and focus on what really mattered. It was time to gather my courage and get to the heart of the matter. So with my voice shaking, I politely confronted Emma and asked her straight up what her problem was. I was hoping for an honest talk, but boy, was I in for a surprise. As soon as I asked, Emma's face twisted with anger. She exploded like a volcano, throwing insults and shouting at me with a tone that would make the devil himself squirm. Her words hit me like a slap. Not only did she attack my character, but she also spat on my dreams and belittled everything I tried to do. It hurt so bad, and I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. At that moment, I realized that confronting Emma would only ever make things worse. Her intentions weren't about resolving anything. They were all about her insecurities and need to control everything. It was a tough truth to face. It shattered my hopes of having a happy, smooth relationship. If this was some random girl I was friends with, best believe I would have cut her off a long time ago. But this was my mother-in-law. There was no escaping this. I just couldn't take it anymore. I had to get away from that emotional assault. So I excused myself from the table, tears streaming down my face. Emma's words kept echoing in my head, just dampening the mood entirely. In that vulnerable moment, I couldn't help but wonder if anything could ever bridge the gap between us. I had no clue that hitting that breaking point would trigger such a huge change within me. From feeling down in the dumps, a newfound strength started to grow. I was dead set on rewriting this story, reclaiming my self-worth and finding a path that embraced who I really am. After that terrible incident, I made sure to steer clear of any unnecessary run-ins with Emma. I thought maybe if I kept my distance, we could avoid another blowout. But no matter what I did, Emma was hell-bent on keeping her toxic behavior going, even from afar. She started bombarding me with these awful text messages, each one meant to tear me down further. And let me tell you, even though I was set on becoming a stronger person, those insults really got to me. I couldn't just shake them off, especially not overnight. The stress and anxiety they caused were eating me up, and it felt like I was stuck in some never-ending nightmare. I was desperate for support, so I turned to Noah, hoping he'd have my back. I poured my heart out, telling him all about Emma's relentless attacks and how they were messing with my head. But man, his response was not what I expected. Noah pretty much brushed off my concerns, acting like they were no big deal. He just said to ignore it and not let it bother me. It was like he couldn't understand the emotional toll it was taking on me. Feeling like he didn't get me at all left me even more hurt and alone. It felt like I was fighting this battle all on my own. Come on, Chloe, you're so sensitive. I know my mom can say some less than nice things, but seriously, you should grow a backbone. He acted like my feelings were no big deal, and it hurt so much. I thought he'd support me, but instead he just undermined what I was going through. I felt so alone and frustrated. We got into this huge argument about it. I tried explaining how much Emma's behavior was messing with me, but he couldn't take it seriously. He kept telling me to just brush it off and not make a fuss. I even told him that dealing with his mom's constant attacks had pushed me to the point of needing anxiety meds again. But he didn't seem to get it. To make matters worse, he even threatened to leave me if I couldn't handle his mother. It was like a stab to the heart, playing on my fear of being alone. I felt stuck in this toxic cycle where my well-being was sacrificed just to keep the peace in our relationship. Months dragged on and I was still silently putting up with Emma's toxic behavior while Noah turned a blind eye. It was exhausting and emotionally draining, and I felt so isolated. But then one day, as I was cleaning the house, I stumbled upon something that changed everything. I found a list of debts that Emma had piled up over time, and it hit me that maybe paying off her debts could be a way to finally bridge the gap between us and find some peace. It was a risky move, but I was ready to try anything to mend our relationship. Excited about the idea, I went to Noah and told him my plan. I hoped he would understand where I was coming from, but he said something that stepped on that budding hope. "Chloe, it's already been taken care of. My aunt stepped in and paid off the debts." "Well, at least she said she would." "Oh, I see. I just wanted to help, Noah. I thought this could be an opportunity to show your mom that I'm willing to go the extra mile. Maybe I can get her a spa day voucher or something." "Chloe, it's not necessary. You always try to do things your way, thinking money can solve everything. Just drop it, okay? She doesn't need your help." "But Noah, it's not just about the money. It's about showing compassion and trying to build my relationship with your mom. I just wanted to make things right." "Can't you understand? It's not going to change anything. This constant need to fix things, it's driving me crazy. Weren't you the one talking about the anxiety my mom gives you? Doing something like that would definitely send her over the edge. God, it's like you want her to hate you." Feeling defeated, I decided to let it go, knowing I didn't need another showdown with Cruella Devil. But man, I couldn't have imagined what was about to go down after that chat with Noah. The very next day, Emma barged into the living room like a tornado on a rampage. She was furious, launching into a full-on verbal attack, convinced I was the one behind the mysterious payoff of her debts. I was sitting there frozen in the living room, anxiety churning in my gut as Emma burst through the front door. The fire in her eyes was impossible to miss, and it was all aimed right at me, because I couldn't even say a word. She unleashed this relentless fury of accusations. "So, you paid off my debts, huh? Who do you think you are, meddling in my affairs? You think you're Bill Gates or something? I never wanted a penny from you." Confused, I began to explain myself, but she wouldn't let me speak. "Don't try and defend yourself now. You think I'm stupid? Noah sent me a text last night saying she paid off all of your debts. I knew it was you because you always had a knack for doing crap like this, but I've had enough of you." Noah then appeared in the doorway, startled by the commotion, and asked what was happening. His face showed a mix of confusion and concern. "What's going on here? Why are you so upset, Mom?" She was shaking with rage. I thought the vein in her forehead was about to pop. "Your wife here thinks she can play savior and pay off my debts without my consent. I won't tolerate this blatant disrespect. She thinks I'm some charity case? Well, she's got another thing coming." I tried to speak to defend myself, but Emma wouldn't hear any of it. "Divorce her now, Noah. She's nothing but trouble. I won't have her meddling in our family affairs and ruining our lives any longer." Tears streamed down my face as Emma's words cut deep into my already wounded heart. Noah face-palmed, clearly frustrated with the situation. "Mom, calm down. I should have been clearer. I'm sorry. Let me explain." Emma didn't even bat an eye at Noah's desperate pleas. She was completely consumed by rage and went on a rampage, smashing anything in the path. The whole situation felt so melodramatic and overwhelming. Right then and there, it hit me hard. No matter how hard I tried to fix things, Emma's deep-seated hatred for me seemed impossible to overcome. The toxicity in that family ran deep, and I felt totally powerless to change it. But amid the chaos, I saw Noah spring into action. He was trying to physically restrain his mother, desperate to get her attention and make her listen. "Mom, listen to me. I didn't mean Chloe paid off your debts. It was Aunt Judy who offered to help. I thought you already knew it was her because we had talked about it earlier, remember?" "Oh, but I just received a text from her. She mentioned that an unexpected expense came up and it will take more time for the money to come through. As Noah's words sunk in, I noticed Emma's tense body language start to relax, and a hint of realization crossed her face. It was obvious she had jumped to conclusions, but her stubborn pride kept her from offering an apology. Instead, she was dead set on finding some other way to shift the blame onto me. "Well, if it wasn't you, then why didn't you say that?" As I realized Emma's complete disregard for my emotions, sadness quickly turned into anger boiling within me. And to top it all off, there was my favorite vase, a precious keepsake from my late grandmother, shattered into pieces on the floor. "You've crossed the line, Emma. That vase was from my grandma, and you've destroyed it. What is wrong with you?" Emma must have sensed that her usual strategy of just attacking everything wasn't going to work this time. She tried to switch gears and started showering me with sweet talk, hoping to win me over and get me to still help her out. But there was no way I was letting her off the hook that easily. "Chloe, listen, we can find a way to fix this. Please, just hear me out." I was so angry, and all I could see was the mess Emma had created. My voice trembled as I tried to stay determined. "No, Emma, I've had enough. I'm calling the police. This has gone too far, and I refuse to be treated like this any longer." My heart was racing as I grabbed the phone, feeling both determined and scared. The room felt heavy with tension, and our shattered relationship was weighing us down. With my hand shaking, I dialed 911, knowing it was the only way to stop the chaos that had taken over our once peaceful home. Noah and Emma tried to talk me out of it, their pleas ringing in my ears, but I knew there was no going back now. I had made up my mind, and I was set on finding safety and peace. "Hello. There are people in my house causing a disturbance and distress. I need them to be removed from the property immediately." As I told the authorities what was happening, Emma tried to act all sweet and innocent, attempting to regain control of the situation, but it was so fake. "Chloe, please, let's talk this through. I know you have the means to help me out of this predicament. Think about how it would benefit both of us." "Emma, I gotta be real with you. I can see how desperate you are, but I'm not going to give you a single dime. You've treated me like garbage and caused so much hurt. And now, all of a sudden, you want my help because you're desperate? Nah, that isn't how it works. Remember how you wouldn't even look my way before? Now you think it's cool to waltz into my house and wreck my stuff? You've got some serious issues, and it's high time you face the music for what you've done. Professional help might be a good idea for you. You can't just get away with everything. Consequences are coming your way." Noah interjected, his frustration mounting as he sided with his mother. "Chloe, you're being unreasonable. Can't you just see how much stress this is causing everyone? Just give her the money and let's move on. And call off the police too. That was so uncalled for." "Unreasonable? Noah, you are such a dirtbag. You only care about yourself and you always disregard my feelings. I won't allow myself to be manipulated any longer. And yeah, I might have wanted to help your good-for-nothing mother once upon a time, but I see now how foolish it was for me to even hold her in such a regard." That room was like a pressure cooker. I kept on yelling at Emma and Noah to get out. You could cut the tension with a knife, and it was clear that our relationship was in pieces. Noah was begging me to back down, promising that he would start listening to me and that things would get better between us, but I couldn't ignore the truth. It was too late for that. Noah's desperation was boiling over, and he was getting more and more worked up and aggressive, wanting to intimidate me into submission. It scared the hell out of me, and I knew I had to get out of there before things got even uglier. So without thinking twice, I ran for it, just wanting to be safe until the police arrived. As I dashed away, my neighbors started coming out, curious and concerned about all the noise. One of them asked me what was going on, as they'd heard the commotion from their homes. It felt like a lifeline knowing they were there to support me through this chaotic mess. "Please, you have to understand, my husband and mother-in-law have made me fear for my safety. She's been aggressive and destructive. I've already called the police. Don't worry, Chloe. We've got your back. We heard everything. They need to be held accountable for their actions. Absolutely. We'll tell the police everything we witnessed. You shouldn't have to endure this kind of treatment. It happened so fast. And then suddenly those flashing police car lights lit up the whole street. I felt a mix of relief and nervousness knowing help was on the way. The officers arrived quickly and started asking questions, paying close attention as my neighbors and I spilled the beans about everything that went down. It was like giving them a full rundown of the whole situation. Having the police there brought a sense of order to the crazy scene in my house. Their professionalism and authority gave me a bit of hope that things might finally be handled properly and that I could finally get the safety and peace of mind I was desperately seeking. Ma'am, we're here to ensure your safety. If you're comfortable, could you provide us with a statement about what transpired? Of course, officer. I just want to feel safe in my own home. They've caused so much distress and I can't live like this anymore. So there I was, spilling all the juicy details to the police officers, and let me tell you, they were fully tuned in. Their expressions turned all serious as I shared what had gone down, and it felt good to know they were taking me seriously. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Before you knew it, the cops marched over to Noah and Emma, and they weren't messing around. They gave them a stern warning and told them to cooperate and come along peacefully to the police vehicles waiting outside. It was like a scene straight out of a movie, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice finally being served. Chloe, please call off the police. We can work this out. It's too late for that, Noah. I've endured enough. It's time for the law to intervene. My neighbors were there for me, supporting and encouraging my decision, and even urging the police to take action. It meant a lot to have their solidarity and care during such a tough time. With their support, I felt stronger and more determined than ever. After cutting ties with Noah and Emma, I finally felt a sense of relief. Their toxic influence was gone and I could breathe freely again. Each day felt brighter, filled with a newfound peace that I hadn't experienced in a long time. No more living in fear and uncertainty. It was my chance to rebuild, heal, and create a life that was truly mine. News spread quickly in the neighborhood, confirming my suspicions. Emma's financial situation took a hit, and her home got repossessed because of Aunt Judy's broken promise. It was a clear reflection of the destructive path she chose. Despite the turmoil, Emma still tried to reach out to me, maybe seeking help. But I knew better than to fall for it. I took legal measures to protect myself and got a restraining order against her, ensuring my safety and peace of mind. As time went on, I focused on my healing journey. Therapy became a vital tool in rebuilding my self-esteem and finding my voice again. Supported by friends and neighbors who stuck by me, I rediscovered my strength and resilience. The unexpected benefit was that my anxiety decreased significantly. Noah and Emma's toxic presence no longer weighed me down, allowing me to reclaim my inner peace. I started thriving, pursuing my passions and dreams with a newfound energy. Gone were the days of living in fear. I embraced my true self, valuing my worth and refusing to settle for anything less than love and respect. The healing journey wasn't over, but I celebrated the progress I had made. Life continued, and I welcomed new opportunities surrounded by genuine connections and the sense of belonging. The scars of the past began to fade, and I grew stronger, knowing that I had survived and come out wiser on the other side. I grew up in a middle-income family. While my parents both worked decent jobs, they had 6 months to feed, i.e. my parents themselves, me, and my 3 siblings. So needless to say, we did struggle a little bit. Hand-me-downs were the norm for us, and so were frozen and cheap meals. The only reason we even managed to own a house was because my grandmother had left the house in my dad's name. We lived in a pretty good neighborhood where families belonging anywhere from the middle to high income lived. The house next to mine had been empty for a couple of years after I was born, according to my parents, until a new family moved in. They had a son of the same age as me. He was the only kid in the neighborhood that was my age, so even though we didn't end up going to the same school since he was homeschooled, my parents and I made the effort to get the both of us to hang out more. His parents were more than welcoming of me and often invited me over. As time passed, the boy, John, and I became the closest of friends. John remained homeschooled for his entire schooling years, and his only interaction with someone his age was me. Thankfully, since I attended a public school, I had more than enough knowledge to teach him about the appropriate ways to socialize with peers his age. His dad, William, was especially grateful for me. Somewhere along the years, William had realized his mistake in forcing homeschooling on his son. He had wanted his son to be more well-rounded and wanted to give his son a head start on learning about the family business. William began to see how much his son had actually lacked being able to communicate with other children his age. But when he saw John struggling less and less after spending time with me, he would show me his gratitude in many different ways. William was a man of very few words, so he never outwardly said, "Thank you," but he would send me home with more than enough food for my entire family and would buy me and my siblings little gifts for our birthdays or any other occasion. While William was grateful for me, John's mother, Margaret, was not so happy with me. She hated that William treated me so well because she felt that he was being harsh on their son, but nice to the neighbor's kid. She never made her distaste for me unapparent. She had always made snide remarks towards me and would constantly try to stop William from giving me things. However, William would never listen to her, and sometimes, out of spite towards her, he would give me more things. Aside from the fact that the way William treated me, Margaret had many other issues with her husband. As a result, the two of them would constantly fight and yell at each other. There was not a single day where the house was quiet. It began to affect John. He began to withdraw even more into himself. It took months of coaxing, but I was finally able to prove myself worthy enough for him to share his thoughts and feelings with me. That was when we were 13. Having had me by his side and having a shoulder to lean on lifted the weight off of his shoulders. We became closer as the years passed. I developed feelings for him somewhere over the years, but never acted on them. There was only one point when John didn't share something with me. We were 17 at the time this happened. For reference, John came over to my house looking distraught. His face was pale and his eyes were wide. He kept pacing back and forth in my room. "John, are you okay? You seem really distressed. You know you can talk to me, right?" "I know that, but this is something I don't think I can tell you." "You don't have to tell me everything, but if you're comfortable, just tell me a bit about it. You know that talking about what's upsetting you always makes you feel better. It's just my mother and I had a huge fight. I reached a breaking point with how she treated my dad. I snapped at her, and she said something really hurtful. That's why I'm so upset." "Oh man, I'm so sorry that happened. Do you think you could tell me what she said?" "It's really painful. I don't want to talk about it." "Yeah, that's okay. Family can be complicated, but remember, no matter what, they're still your family. You shouldn't let your anger ruin your relationships with them. Take time to process your feelings." "Yeah, I guess so. Thanks for listening, Maria. You always know how to calm me down." At that time, I wanted John to stay with his family because I knew that despite their weirdness and arguments, at the end of the day, they only had his best interests at heart. Little did I know the real truth. If I had known the truth, I would never have suggested John forgiving and staying with his parents. Actually, his mother, to be more specific. In the years that passed, John and I graduated high school and enrolled ourselves in the same college. John did more of the distance learning thing while I attended college. Since I had been working since I turned 16, I was able to save up enough to rent an apartment. William helped me a little bit as well. So while I attended college, I was able to move out into my own space. As a result, John and I would hang out more often without the watchful eyes of our parents. Eventually, we both realized that we had big-time feelings for each other. After an awkward confession on both of our parts, we began dating. My parents were ecstatic for us, while John's parents had more neutral reactions. William congratulated us with a calm demeanor, whereas Margaret just grunted at us in disapproval. Anyways, we chose not to focus on his mother's reaction. After we graduated college, John proposed to me, and within that year, we got married. At that time, I thought I had won at life. I mean, my childhood best friend was the person I married. He was there with me from the start, and vice versa. I really loved him with everything I had. After we got married, John began to travel a lot more for work. He didn't want me to stay alone for too long, so he asked me to move in with his parents. I was hesitant, but John tried his best to convince me. I don't know about moving in with your parents. Your mom's never been a fan of me. I know, but listen, we'd have our own space, a whole floor to ourselves, even our kitchen. I want you safe, and being with my family will put my mind at ease. It's almost like living alone. I mean, they could visit, or I could visit them if they want. Please hear me out. This could even be a chance for you and my mom to get along better. I believe this could help mend things. All right. If it means that much to you, I'll give it a shot. But I hope this doesn't make things worse between us. Thanks, babe. I promise I'll do my best to make sure everything goes smoothly. I knew that his reasoning made no sense, but I accepted his request, and only because I wanted him to feel better when he wasn't near me. The fact that I would have some privacy made me feel better. Plus, if anything happened, my parents lived right next door and I could crash there. In the next month, the both of us had moved back in with his parents. However, I quickly realized that John hadn't been completely honest with me. You see, I wasn't going to be alone in the house with his parents. I was going to be alone with only his mother, Margaret. Whenever John went out on a business trip, he did so at his dad's command. William made John go take care of businesses at a different place while he, too, was away on business. This meant that I was stuck living under the same roof as the woman that hated me for days or even weeks. Thankfully, Margaret never really did anything much to me. She would make a rude comment here or there, and the worst would be when she would purposely have no food made for me, after specifically asking me what I wanted to eat. I would usually be too tired from work to care, so I would either whip myself up a quick meal or I would order in. Anyway, as long as I stayed in my room, nothing significant happened. That was until one day John called me and asked me to search through his office for a file. He wanted me to scan the contents of the file and send them over to him. I had to rummage through his messy drawers for that file, but while I was looking for it, I felt something off with one of the drawers. I felt around it a little more and noticed that it felt a lot more hollow than the others. I realized that the drawer had a false bottom. Now, I know that it's wrong to snoop, but my curiosity got the best of me and I managed to open the false bottom. There was one file. I couldn't help but wonder what was so important and such a big secret that John had to hide it in his office drawer. I didn't know if Margaret would have been snooping around, so I walked over to the door and looked around. Before shutting the door and slightly locking it, I opened the file. My heart raced as I read the contents of it. In the file was a paternity test between John and William was not John's father. I was shocked. I did not know how to react. I mean, how could John have kept such a large secret from me? John was the spitting image of his mother, so I never thought to question his paternity. I couldn't help but wonder if William knew. Before I could let my thoughts spiral further, I decided I needed to put the file back and send John the scans he needed. But before that, my gut told me to take a picture of the test. Once I had done that, I hurriedly put everything away and managed to find the file John wanted. I sent him the scans and quietly retreated into my room. I spent the next few hours trying not to dwell on the new information I had just learned. I wanted to talk to John about it, but I felt like that was a conversation I would rather have in person. Just as the tension in me began to ease, Margaret knocked on my door. I told her to come in, and I was immediately greeted with a scowl as she entered my room. "Yes, how can I help?" "Spare me the act. I know you found out about our secret." "What are you talking about?" "Don't play games. I saw the false bottom of John's drawer open. I know you read the document." "Fine, you got me. But tell me, does William know?" "Ha ha, William. That old geezer doesn't know a thing. If he did, we'd be on the streets. All he ever wanted was an heir. I was lucky enough to get away with the fact that John wasn't his kid only because John is a spitting image of me." "How could you deceive him like that? After all he's done for you?" "Spare me your moral judgments. I'm not the only one betraying him. John's in on it too. He's gotten used to this lifestyle and he won't let it go." That can't be right. What if I tell William everything?" "Oh, please, you think some peasant like you can ruin our little game of pretend? I'd simply make William believe you're lying to cause chaos. He'll choose us over you any day. You won't get away with this for long." "Keep dreaming. I've never liked you, Maria. I've been trying to push John away from you for years. This is the perfect reason for him to find someone of his social standing." "You won't get away with this forever. The truth will come out. That's how it always works." "Oh, please, save your fairy tales for someone who cares. Good luck with that, though. If you're smart enough, you won't interfere." With that, she walked out of the room. My heart was pounding. Every question I had for John, Margaret had answered them. I was disgusted with both of them. I knew that Margaret didn't like me and showed it, but I never thought she would stoop so low. And worst of all was John. How could he deceive the man that had raised him that way? How long had he known? Did he feel any remorse whatsoever? On top of that, would he go along with Margaret's plan to leave me? I barely got any sleep that night because my thoughts kept me awake. The next day passed in a haze. William had returned from his work trip. I couldn't look him in the eye because of how guilty I felt. I wanted to tell him everything, but I knew that if I tried, Margaret would find a way to turn the tables on me and make me the bad guy. That night, William asked for the three of us to have dinner together. I silently ate my food except for the times that William asked me questions about work. At some point during dinner, Margaret told William that she wanted to go on a vacation with John. "William, I've been missing John, and I think it'll be a great idea for us to go on a 2-week trip to Italy together." Well, John has been working hard. He does deserve a break." "Doesn't John have a lot of work commitments? I mean, I'm no expert, but won't his absence affect the business?" "Please. William managed the business for years before John joined. A short break won't hurt." "That's true, and John could use some time off." "All right, you can go, and I'll handle things here." "Thank you, dear." "Maria, why don't you join them?" "Oh, that won't work. It's supposed to be a mother-son bonding time. Besides, it will feel like a third wheel." "Well, What do you think, Maria? Would you like to join them?" "Oh, she probably has her own plans. Don't worry about her." "Let's allow Maria to make that decision, huh?" I knew why Margaret wanted to go on this trip. I was about to say that I wasn't okay with the trip, but I felt a sharp kick in my shin. I winced in pain as I realized that Margaret had kicked me under the table. I looked at her and noticed her sharp glare. I wanted to tell on her so bad, but I knew it wouldn't lead me anywhere. I felt like I was stuck, until I suddenly had a brilliant idea. I realized that I could use their time away to tell William everything. So I shut my mouth and nodded that I was okay with the trip. Margaret looked satisfied, and William told Margaret she was free to go on her trip. That night, I called John and asked him about this trip. "Are you going on this trip with your mother?" Yeah, I don't really have a choice. That's not true. You do have a choice. You can choose not to go along with her plans. Everything is just so messed up, and honestly, a lot of it is because of you. What do you mean? How is any of this my fault? If you had respected my privacy back then, none of this would have happened. There's a lesson I didn't tell you about everything. When did you even find out you're not William's son? Remember how a couple of years ago I came over to your place looking really distressed because of this huge fight I had with my mom? Yeah, she dropped that bomb on me during that fight. Did you consider telling William about it? I did. I even threatened her to spill the secret, but she laughed it off, said if I told William, he'd throw us out. So we're stuck keeping this secret. Now that you know, I can't keep you around anymore. Did our relationship mean anything to you at all? Of course it did. But when you found out about the secret, I knew I had to let you go. Your strong conscience could ruin everything I've been working for. With that, he hung up the call. I couldn't believe that this man was the man I had loved. Was this always a part of him? Or was this something he had become out of greed? I cried myself to sleep that night. I couldn't believe that all our years of friendship and love just crashed into something so disgusting. How could he let go of me so easily? I had treated him like he was the most precious thing to me, while I was just something that could be easily thrown away to him. I woke up the next morning fully ready to take revenge. John had returned home that morning and silently packed his bags for his vacation. He and Margaret were set to leave in the afternoon. I didn't spare him a glance. My heart hurt, but I knew I was doing the right thing. William had gone on another short business trip for the next 2 days, so I had to wait for him to come back for my plan to start. After John and Margaret left, I busied myself by looking through their stuff. Not surprisingly, the false bottom in John's drawer was empty. I couldn't find the file anywhere. I guess Margaret must have gotten rid of it. It was okay, though. I had a picture of it. Then I waited to collect evidence of what John and Margaret were up to. Sure enough, John posted stories on his private Instagram account where only his closest friends and family followed him. He posted stories of him going on dates with multiple other women, and even posted a story of him thanking his mother for introducing him to so many wonderful women. Even though my heart was breaking and anger was boiling under my skin, I took screenshots of every story. I then called William and told him I had an emergency and needed him home immediately. William assured me that he would be home by nighttime. True to his word, he showed up by 9 p.m. He hurried over to me and asked me if everything was okay. I told him that I was not okay and told him the real reason why Margaret and John had gone on that trip: to find John a new wife. William looked shocked and asked me if I was being serious. I showed him the screenshots. William's shock turned to anger and disgust. William stuttered as he asked me why they would do this. I told him that I had something important to tell him, but I needed him to sit down for that. He sat down and fearfully asked me what I had to say. I took out the printout of the picture of the test and showed it to him. William sat there silently for a while as he processed what he was reading. I gave him some time before telling him everything I had found out in the past few days. William's hurt turned to anger. Without a word, he called up his banks and canceled his credit cards. He knew that Margaret and John were depending on them for their travel because they always used those for trips. He also went ahead and canceled John's office card, so they had no money that way either. Once he was done with that, William felt slightly calmer. I apologized for throwing everything at him at once. "I'm so sorry, William. None of this should have happened." "There's no need for you to apologize. I never imagined Margaret could go to such lengths. I'm glad this revelation happened while I'm still in control of the business." "What are your plans now? I'm worried John and Margaret might try to come back." "I've made up my mind. I'm going to divorce Margaret and remove both of them from this house." "I'm with you on the divorce. I'll also file one against John. I'll move out too, don't worry." No, Maria, you're not going anywhere. If you're willing, I'd like to pass the business down to you. I've always seen you as a daughter, and I trust you to carry on the legacy. William, I don't know what to say. I'd be honored to continue what you've built. That's settled then. We'll make this right together, Maria. The days after that were filled with sadness and anger. William filed for divorce, and so did I. Margaret and John tried contacting us, but neither of us picked up the calls or answered the texts. William had managed to pull some strings and managed to get both of us restraining orders against Margaret and John. When the calls got too annoying, I finally picked up. What the hell did you tell my dad, Maria? I haven't said anything to him. Then why are his cards cancelled and our numbers blocked? What have you done? I didn't tell him anything. I just showed him the proof. That's impossible. I burned it all. Not everything. I had enough evidence. I took a photo of the document you thought you destroyed. You're heartless for doing this to us. Huh. You're the heartless one. You and Margaret chose to keep this secret from William. You have to face the consequences of your actions. You're tearing our family apart. No, you're doing it. It's the truth that's finally coming out. It's time to take responsibility. I hung up the call and blocked John and Margaret. In the weeks that followed, William and I sent our divorce papers to our respective partners. William had all of John's and Margaret's things packed and put away in a storage facility. He gave them 1 month to show up and take their things, or they would have to pay to keep their things in the facility. I quit my job and began focusing on working with William. It was hard for both of us to forget everything that had happened, but we knew that at the end of the day, we still had each other. I began to enjoy work, and the benefits I got from working with William were only a bonus. So that is my story. Thank you for listening till the end. I hope that no matter what life throws your way, you always remember to do what's right, because you never know how life will reward you. Hi there, I'm Flora, a 37-year-old woman who has gone through a lot in her life. I was thinking about some of the most defining moments of my life the other day and remembered this incident. So I thought I'd share it with all of you. Let me introduce you to my husband, Phil. Phil and I share a deep love and understanding. We've always been there for each other through thick and thin. Despite the challenges we've faced, we've grown stronger together. I've never believed in the concept of a perfect marriage. There's always something that causes trouble in the relationship, you know? Well, for me, that something was Phil's mother, Mabel. Ever since I met her, I could tell Mabel didn't like me. When others were around, she acted nice and friendly, but when it was just the two of us, she would say mean things that hurt my feelings. It was draining and always made me feel really small. Mabel's words felt like sharp knives. She would often tell me that her son deserved someone better than me. She would make fun of my achievements, saying they weren't good enough. Mabel even made hurtful comments about my looks. It seemed like she enjoyed putting me down one insult at a time. All those hurtful words made me doubt myself and my place in Phil's life. I felt like I was not good enough for his love. To protect myself, I had to find ways to deal with the situation. I reminded myself that Mabel's hurtful words were because of her own issues and insecurities, and not because of anything I did wrong. I tried my best to stay calm when I was around her, even though it was difficult. I focused on the love between me and Phil and the happy moments we shared. But no matter how hard I tried to remind myself that what Mabel said wasn't true, I couldn't shake off the insecurities that began to grow within me. I really can't stand Mabel anymore. She keeps saying really hurtful things. I've been trying to tell you about it for so long, but you won't listen. I'm struggling, so please just listen to me. Come on, babe. You're just making things up again. My mom would never do anything to hurt you. You're overreacting. No, I'm not making this up. It's been going on for a long time. She makes me feel small and insults me, and it's taking a toll on my mental health. I mean, haven't you noticed how much I've changed these past few months?
I know my mom. She's a kind and loving person. I can't believe you're saying these things about her. You need to stop making up stories and causing unnecessary drama. I'm not creating drama. I'm telling you how I feel and what I've been going through. Stop treating me like my feelings don't matter. Why can't you support me this one time? I just can't believe that my mom would behave like that. Maybe you're just misinterpreting things or being overly sensitive. I can't accept that my mom would be so mean. I'm not misinterpreting anything. I've suffered with her hurtful words and actions for so long. I'm not asking you to choose sides, but I need you to believe and help me. Can we please find a way to address this issue together? Babe, I love you, and you know that I'll always support you, but come on. I know my mother better than you do, and I will not support you talking so rudely about her. I don't like it. Just be a little nicer to her next time and don't read into things too much, okay? Living far away from Mabel didn't solve the problem. I couldn't avoid her forever. There was always some event or the other that required me to meet her and spend time with her. I wanted Phil to see the truth, but I had to find the right way and time to talk to him about it. He was never going to believe me, no matter how much or how hard I cried or complained. It would never reach him. He loved his mother too much to believe that she would torment me. One day, Mabel called Phil out of the blue to say that her house was being renovated and she needed a place to stay. Phil immediately offered for her to stay with us. The thing is, he never asked me what I thought about that plan. He knew how distressed his mother made me feel. Even though he didn't believe me, the least he could have done was check in with me. It hurt to think that he would make such a decision behind my back. Why did you offer Mabel our place to stay without even asking me for my opinion? Do I not have a say in what goes on in our house? Well, I didn't think I needed to ask you. She's my mom. I couldn't let her be homeless because of some feud that you guys have going on. It's not a feud. She treats me badly and never passes up on an opportunity to say something incredibly hurtful towards me. Now she's going to live with us without any say from me? It feels like you care more about her than about my feelings. Look, I know you've had issues with her, but she's still my mom. I can't just leave her without a place to stay. I thought you'd understand, especially since she's family. I do understand the importance of family, but it's also important for you to consider how I feel. I can't pretend everything's okay when she constantly treats me like crap. Babe, can we please not do this right now? I'm sorry I didn't ask you about it, but regardless of what you would have said, I would have let my mom stay here. Just deal with it for me, please. Talking to Phil only made me angrier. How could he not see what was right in front of him? I wanted to lash out and yell at him, but I knew that it would be pointless. Phil had made up his mind and there was no way I could change it. I had to do as he said and just deal with it. When Mabel arrived, she acted all nice and friendly towards Phil and me, but as soon as Phil left the room, her true colors showed. She smirked at me with a mean look in her eyes and said she would make my life miserable. She told me that she would find a way to get rid of me because she was sick and tired of me. I felt a mix of emotions, angry, scared, and frustrated. How could someone who was supposed to be family treat me so badly? How could she also so casually tell me this? I knew I had to protect myself somehow because Mabel wasn't planning on leaving anytime soon. Whenever she had the chance to bully me, she took it. It felt unbearable to think about enduring her bullying for who knows how long. I knew that I needed to expose Mabel's true nature to Phil, but I had to be careful. If I did it too soon, he might think I was trying to ruin his relationship with his mom, or that I was purposely throwing his mother on the streets when she had no place to live. So, for the next month and a half, I endured Mabel's constant bullying. She knew just how to target my insecurities and make me feel small. Her insults and belittling comments were like daggers to my self-esteem. She would mock my appearance. She would criticize the way I looked and dressed. Every choice I made seemed to be met with her disapproval, whether it was about my career, hobbies, or even the food I cooked. Mabel would find sneaky ways to hurt me and make me feel bad about myself. She would ruin important things I was working on. She would spill coffee on my important work papers or make a mess in the kitchen right before guests came over, and sometimes she would sabotage the food I spent long hours making. Then she would just stand there and laugh while I had to fix everything and face the consequences. She also liked to make fun of things I liked and enjoyed. If I told her about a book I liked, she would say it was a waste of time. When I talked about painting, she would say mean things about my skills and make me doubt myself. It seemed like she enjoyed taking away any joy I had in my hobbies and talents, making me feel like I wasn't good enough. Mabel also made hurtful comments about how I looked. She would say mean things about my weight. She took pride in making me feel bad about my body. She would laugh at my clothes and say that they were old-fashioned or didn't look good on me. It was like she wanted to make me feel ashamed of how I looked and destroy my confidence. But her bullying didn't stop at just words. She tried to make me feel alone by spreading rumors and gossip about me to anyone that I invited over to my house. She wanted to turn them against me and create problems in my relationships. It was like she wanted to control everything and see me suffer. The entire time she had a smirk on her face. She enjoyed the pain she caused me. It was a cruel game to her, a way to show her power over me. To make matters worse, standing up to Mabel wasn't easy. I was scared of her anger and the possible strain it could put on my relationship with Phil. I was emotionally exhausted. I felt like I had reached my breaking point. That's how I knew enough time had passed and I could easily put my plan into action. I made sure to never complain about Mabel to Phil even once in the past month and a half. So now, not only was it safe to carry out my plan, but I was also burning with rage. I wanted Mabel to feel the same pain she made me feel. During those 2 weeks of secretly recording Mabel, my emotions were all over the place. It was really hard to handle her constant bullying, but I knew I had to stay strong because I wanted to show everyone, especially Phil, her true colors. The thought of finally exposing her kept me going even when things felt really tough. Every mean thing she said and every mean laugh she let out hurt me deeply. Her words felt heavy and her insults stung. It was exhausting to deal with her meanness all the time, but I reminded myself that it wouldn't last forever. I took every mean word she said and every mean thing she did in stride. I knew that everything was being recorded and I wouldn't need to deal with her anymore very soon. After compiling and editing the footage, I gathered up the courage to show it to Phil. One evening, I asked him if he wanted to watch a movie together. It had been a while since the both of us kicked back and relaxed, so he happily agreed. As we sat down, I started playing the footage of Mabel's hurtful actions towards me. Phil was confused and shocked. He watched with growing horror the way his mother treated me. He asked me to explain what I was showing him. Finally, I had his attention, and it was my chance to explain. Do you see what I've been trying to tell you about for so long? I've not been lying or making things up. I've been dealing with her antics for the past 2 months while you've been happily unaware of everything. It was bad enough when she didn't live with us, but when you let her live here, I swear, babe, I wanted to leave. I had no idea. I thought you were just making it up. Why would I make it up? What would I get by making up silly stories? I don't know. I don't know why I never believed you or even heard you out. I guess I just didn't want to believe that my mother could be so cruel. I'm so sorry for not believing you and neglecting your feelings. Your mother is a monster. I hate to break it to you like this, but she really is. You've seen the evidence now. Do you see how much I've been hurting? Yeah. I feel so guilty for not standing up for you. I should have heard you out and at the very least attempted to find out if what you were saying was true. I'm truly sorry, babe. Thank you for finally believing me. If you didn't, I would have lost my mind. So it means a lot to me. Of course. I'd have to be a special kind of fool to tell you that you were lying when I just saw with my own eyes how my mother has been treating you. I want to make it up to you. Tell me what I can do to make it up to you. I'll do anything, I promise. I want Mabel out of our house. I can't bear to live with her any longer. I would completely agree with that, but I still don't want her to be homeless. Her house is still undergoing renovations and we don't know when it will end. Fine. How about we work out a compromise? Compromise? Yeah. I want you to get the name of the renovation company that's working on Mabel's place. I can definitely do that, but why do you want to know about that? I don't know, but my gut is telling me that Mabel is lying about it. Why would she lie, though? Did you just not see how happy she looked while tormenting me? Right. You're right. I'll get you the information. Just please forgive me. I'm sorry for what I did to you. It's okay, baby. I'll need some time to get over the things that Mabel did and said to me, but I'll be fine. And more importantly, we're fine. The next day, Phil casually chatted with Mabel during breakfast and found out the name of the company doing her renovations. I decided to take matters into my own hands and contacted the company to check on the progress. To my surprise, I learned that the renovation had actually been finished 2 weeks ago, and they only had to work on one room. That meant that she did have a place to stay but chose to come and live with us. If I was angry before, then I was furious when I found out that Mabel had lied to us. She purposely stayed over at our place just to torment me. I immediately told Phil about this discovery, and he too got really upset that Mabel had lied to us about her living situation. He promised me that he would talk to her about her lies and how she treated me during dinner. When it was finally dinner time, I anxiously waited for Phil to talk to Mabel about her bullying. But nothing had happened. I assumed that he would talk to her after we were done eating. After we finished eating, Phil offered to take our dishes in, leaving me and Mabel alone in the dining room. As Mabel began to say mean things to me and I had reached my breaking point, I couldn't take her bullying anymore. That's enough! I've had it! I will not tolerate your attitude anymore. I want you out of my house. I never want to see you again. How dare you? This is my son's house and you have no right to kick me out. Let me make one thing clear. This house is in both Phil's and my name. Do you know what that means? I have just as much rights as Phil to decide who lives here. Like I care. How dare you speak to me like this? I will make Phil throw you out of the house. You'll learn your lesson then. What's going on? Why are you guys yelling? Flora yelled at me because I made a small mistake and now she's asking me to leave, Phil. She told me to leave both of you alone. Can you believe her? She's heartless. Oh, please, Mabel. Everyone in this room knows that you have a house to go back to. Your renovations have been completed for a while now. You're just here to make my life miserable because you enjoy doing it. She's lying. You know, I would never do anything like that. You know I don't have a mean bone in my body, Phil. This can't keep going on. I'm sorry, but Phil, you have to choose. I can't keep living with someone as heartless as her. So, me or her? Phil looked wildly uncomfortable. He hated being put on the spot, but this was the perfect time for him to show me who his loyalties lay with. If he chose Mabel, I would walk out of the house and never return to him. I hated to see him in a position where he felt so uncomfortable, but it was necessary for me in our relationship. Phil took his time and thought about how to gently respond and tell his mother to stop bullying me. But Mabel didn't give a chance to speak up. Shall I ask Flora to start packing her bags then? No, Mom. You got it all wrong. It's not Flora who should be leaving, it's you. What? What do you mean? Why are you choosing her over your own mother? I've been trying so hard to be nice and understanding, but you're making it so hard. I can't believe you. Do you do anything else other than lie? You've lied to me about not having a place to live and about Flora being mean to you. But Phil, you know I would never do such a thing. Flora is just exaggerating and making things up. You know how delusional she can be. Enough! You are not allowed to speak of my wife that way. I've seen and heard enough evidence to prove that you've been lying to me. I know the truth now. Flora has suffered enough, thank you. I want you to leave. But, no buts. This is not how we treat each other. I can't allow you to continue bullying Flora, disrespecting my relationship with her. You need to leave by tomorrow morning, and for everyone's sake, never come back. The following day, Mabel left our house reluctantly, still trying to argue her case, but Phil and I stayed firm with our decision. We no longer wanted her negativity or lies in our relationship. Even after she left, she kept trying to get in contact with us, but Phil and I decided that it would be best if we blocked her everywhere. Looking back on our journey, I feel relieved and like I've become stronger as a person. Phil and I have become even closer as a couple. The wounds from Mabel's hurtful words slowly but surely healed, and now our marriage is thriving without her toxicity. If you're going through something similar, remember that you deserve love and respect. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth. Reach out for help from people who care about you. It's never too late to take a stand and take back your power. Let this story remind you that love and trust should always be at the center of your relationships. Phil and I have a strong foundation of trust and support. Although it's been a while since this incident, we're excited for the future because we know we can face